Hello everyone, this is part 1 of What If Naruto Came Back with a Kid. This story is made by Mysterious Mask, and I hope you guys enjoy this video and to like, to subscribe, to share, and check out the playlist. To see more, comment down below. Now let's start the intro.
They call me a god. They call me a god. They call me a god.
Join my membership, the perks are great. It's in the description. Be sure to like and subscribe, it gives me more motivation. Enjoy. Life was normal for little Sakura Haruno. She played quietly in her room while her mom was out getting groceries. All she ever knew about life and family was her and her mom. Her mother would work 2 jobs in order to help make ends meet. While her mom was at work, Yuhi Kurenai would watch over the little 4-year-old. Her dad had been killed when her mother was still pregnant with her. He had been one of the hundreds of shinobi killed during the Kyuubi attack. That didn't bother her though. Pretty much she was just as happy as every other 4-year-old in Konoha. Except for one. Sakura sweetie, come down here. I want to show you something. Sakura jumped to her feet and ran towards the front door where her mother's voice just came from. As she rounded the corner, and saw her mother taking off her coat that was damp with rain and hanging it to dry. She leapt into her mother's arms giggling, "Mommy, I missed you." Mrs. Haruno smiled as she hugged her daughter back. "I missed you too, honey." She then sat her little girl on the ground. "Now, I have someone I want you to meet, okay?" Sakura nodded her head. Mrs. Haruno stepped aside to reveal a blonde-haired boy about Sakura's age. The boy quickly realized he was visible and hid back behind Mrs. Haruno once again. She smiled and held out her hand behind her. "Come on, little one. You're safe here." A small hand took hers as she guided him out from behind her. Sakura now got a good look at the child and was sad. The hair that was blonde in spots was drenched and flattened with a mixture of blood and rain. His face has several bruises and one of his eyes was swollen shut. His shirt was almost completely sped off. His gaze was on the ground, not looking up. He stiffened when he felt 2 arms wrap around him in a hug. Sakura let him go and smiled. "What's your name?" The boy kept his eyes on the ground. "Uzumaki Naruto." Sakura giggled. "That's a funny name." Naruto sniffled. "Sorry." Sakura suddenly engulfed him in a hug. "Let's be best friends, okay?" Naruto stiffened as he was unsure what to do. He slowly hugged her back. Okay. Mrs. Haruno smiled at the two. She was glad that Naruto seemed to not be completely terrified of Sakura like he was of her when she first tried to help him. Flashback. Mrs. Haruno slowly walked down the street from her second job. Another long day. It was much easier before the attack. Her attention was regained though when she heard some commotion in an alley she just passed. He looked and saw a pair of genins kicking something on the ground. "That will show you to run from us. I don't even know why the third has let you live this long. Yeah, we should do everyone a favor and take you out right now." Mrs. Haruno walked forward and caught a glimpse of a small child laying cuddled on the ground trying to protect his head from the attack of the shinobi. She felt her blood boil. "Hey, you stop that. Shinobi are supposed to protect the villagers, not attack them." The genin spun around. "Shut up, lady, you don't know anything." Mrs. Haruno stepped forward past the genins and got a look at the child. The child looked up slightly trying to figure out what happened to the unrelenting attack. It was then that Mrs. Haruno saw the unmistakable whisker marks on his face. She gasped as she took a few steps back holding her chest. "It's you." One of the genins smirked. "See? It's the little demon boy." Mrs. Haruno kept her eyes on Naruto. "My husband SD in that battle. How can I protect this child?" She reached down to touch his cheek but Naruto quickly moved away, cowering in the corner of the alley. She stepped forward again and touched his cheek. Naruto originally tried to move away again but began to whimper like an injured animal when he realized he was trapped. "Please." Mrs. Haruno looked down at the source of the small whisper of a voice. Naruto looked up at her with begging eyes. "Please, lady. Don't hurt me." One of the genins snapped. "Shut up, you little curse." Mrs. Haruno looked down at the child as flashes of her own daughter crossed her mind. She stood up, picking up the boy and holding him tight as tears fell down her cheeks. "It's okay now. I won't let them hurt you. What makes you think you can stop us? We'll KU2, you sympathizer." Both genins Mrs. Haruno shielded the child with her body and prepared for the attack, but it never came. There was the sound of rustling. She looked up to see both genins on the ground and saw a shinobi with a mask over his face standing there. You two are dishonorable to the shinobi. I will report you both at once. Mrs. Haruno smiled. Thank you so much. The shinobi's smile was evident with the closure of his uncovered eye. It's nothing. I owed the kid's dad, so now we're even. He then vanished. End of flashback. Mrs. Haruno smiled as she looked back at her daughter and the little boy. Well, Sakura, why don't you go into my closet and get one of your dad's old shirts, okay? I'm going to get this little one cleaned up. She then reached down, picked up Naruto. Naruto held tightly to Mrs. Haruno as he mumbled against the arm that held him, I'm sorry. Mrs. Haruno chuckled, it's okay. Now let's go get that bath. Naruto gulped at the thought of the bath. Mrs. Haruno smiled as she went to start his bath. -10 minutes later. Mrs. Haruno sighed as she scrubbed the shampoo into Naruto's hair, trying to get out all the dirt and blood. From the look of it, this was not all fresh blood. Where do you live at? Naruto looked down ashamed. Nowhere. You don't have a home. The lady at the place with the other kids said I couldn't come back. She said no one would want to be my mommy and daddy. Mrs. Haruno sneered. I'll have to have a talk with Hokage-sama about this. She picked up a cup and started to rinse Naruto's hair. She decided that he definitely needed a haircut. There was a quiet knock on the bathroom door. Mrs. Haruno looked at the open door to see Sakura standing there hugging one of her dad's old shirts. Mommy, there's some strange people downstairs. Strange people. Sakura nodded. Aha, there's these people with masks on their face that make them look like animals, and this old man with a funny hat, and this guy with only one eye. Mrs. Haruno quickly picked up Naruto, drying him off and putting the shirt Sakura was holding on him. She then held out a hand to Naruto. He still seemed hesitant to take it. Sakura ran up to him and took his arm, dragging him with her. You have to see the one-eye man. Mrs. Haruno gasped as she reached the bottom of the stairs. She saw Sakura asking the one-eyed ninja a bunch of questions while the ninja seemed to obviously be struggling not to panic. Sakura would sometimes ask a question and look at Naruto for confirmation, but Naruto remained quiet, staying as close as possible to Sakura. What had surprised Mrs. Haruno the most, though, was the third was standing in her living room. She quickly bowed. Hokage-sama. What brings you here? Sarutobi smiled and chuckled. No need to bow, young lady. He felt a tug on his coat sleeve. He looked down at Sakura. What's a ho-take? Mrs. Haruno moved to stop her daughter, but Sarutobi raised a hand to show it was okay. He picked up Sakura with one arm. I'm not sure what a hotake is. But I'm a Hokage. That means that I treat the entire village as my close family and I protect them. Sakura's eyes skewed as she processed the answer. You're old. The third's laughter filled the household. I would guess I am. I'm not as young as I used to be. He then looked down at Naruto. Hello, Naruto. Naruto kept his gaze on the ground. Why aren't you at the orphanage? You've caused quite a bit of trouble today. Naruto's shoulders lowered as if he was being scolded. Sorry. Mrs. Haruno stepped forward. Can I speak with you for a second, Hokage-sama? Sarutobi nodded, putting Sakura back onto the ground. Kakashi, watch the two. He then followed Mrs. Haruno into the kitchen. The teenage shinobi paled. What do I do? Sakura smiled and ran upstairs before coming back with a storybook, holding it up to Kakashi. He looked down at it and saw that it was Cinderella. He sighed. Why me? Answer. The great Kakashi was forced to sit in a chair in front of the Anbu escorts with two kids in his lap and read a fairy tale. I'll never live this down. Switch. Sarutobi looked at Mrs. Haruno across the table. Thank you for trying to help Naruto. Most people would have just let the genin have their way with him once they realize who the child was. Mrs. Haruno nodded. I know what's inside him, but he's still just a little child. Sarutobi smiled and chuckled. That is good to hear. Especially after your husband was one of those to befall that tragedy. My husband believed the job of a shinobi was to protect those unable to protect themselves. Very wise indeed. What did you wish to speak with me about? Mrs. Haruno sighed. Naruto said the orphanage told him to not come back. Sarutobi sighed as well and rubbed his forehead. I was afraid this would come. I've have a talk with the head tomorrow and have them take Naruto back in. Until they throw him out again. That place won't accept him as he is. Sarutobi nodded in agreement. What do you want me to do? Mrs. Haruno stood and looked out the door that showed the living room. She motioned for the third to come see. He followed her example and was surprised at what he saw. Sakura and Naruto were sitting in Kakashi's lap as the teen read to them. Sakura would point at random pictures that she liked and show them to Naruto. Naruto held onto Sakura's arm like it was his lifeline. When Sakura noticed this, she escaped his grasp and put her arm around him, pulled him next to her. Sakura then rested her head on his shoulder and Naruto rested his head on her head. Mrs. Haruno stepped back and smiled. They've taken to each other quite well. Sarutobi nodded. I know it may not be easy for me, but I think it would be best for Naruto if he stayed here. Sarutobi raised an eyebrow. You wish to adopt him? Mrs. Haruno nodded. He deserves a family. I'll just have to work a little more. Sarutobi chuckled. Come to my office tomorrow. I'll have the head of the orphanage send me the adoption papers. Mrs. Haruno took a deep breath and walked out the door. Kakashi looked up and acted like his personal savior had arrived. She smiled. I know, kids can be a handful. She then walked over to Naruto and got on her knees to be on his level. Naruto. Do you like it here? Naruto nodded, avoiding her gaze. Would you like to visit here more often? Naruto nodded again, this time allowing his gaze to meet hers. Mrs. Haruno looked at Sakura. What do you think, sweetie? Would it be okay if Naruto came for visits? Sakura enthusiastically nodded. Mrs. Haruno smiled again. Well, since you both like the idea so much, how about you just live here with us, Naruto? Naruto's eyes widened. Like you be my mommy? Mrs. Haruno nodded. Yes, I would like to adopt you if that is okay. Naruto leapt from Kakashi's lap and latched his arms around his new mom with a giant hug. They were soon joined when Sakura did the same thing. Sarutobi smiled at the three and nodded to Kakashi and the Anbu. They all left the family to have their first night as a family. Naruto pulled away from the hug. Am I really adopted? You aren't playing a trick on me. Mrs. Haruno shook her head and smiled. No, sweetie, I'm not playing a trick on you. I'll get the guest room ready. Then tomorrow we'll get you some new clothes, okay? Naruto smiled. Sakura tackled him and hugged him tight. You're my new little brother. Naruto frowned. Why am I a little brother? I want to be a big brother. Sakura smiled. Because I was here first and the one that is there first is the big one. The next day, Mrs. Haruno smiled as Naruto was dragged through the store by Sakura. She had seen several evil glare from store owners, but Naruto seemed so happy to actually have a playmate that he didn't even notice. Just then the store owner walked up, hold Sakura by the arm and Naruto by the ear. Mom. Is this little girl yours? Mrs. Haruno nodded. Sakura was quickly released and ran to her mother, holding onto her leg. Mrs. Haruno's eyes narrowed. You want to let him go too? Naruto writhed as the store owner's grip tightened. He whimpered as his eyes begged Mrs. Haruno to help him. I'm sorry, but little monsters like this one are not welcome. He's not a monster. He's a little boy. The owner sneered at her. You may not know, but this little boy is really The owner was interrupted by a puff of smoke. Kakashi stood there with Naruto already safe in his GS. Now I know you were not about to break the 40H's rule, right? The owner quickly shook his head and walked off. Mrs. Haruno smiled. You seem to show up at just the right time, Mr. Kakashi smiled behind his mask. Kakashi. Hatake Kakashi. Mrs. Haruno nodded. Kakashi, huh? I think I remember my husband mentioning you. He said you had a lot of potential. Kakashi nodded. He was one of those who SD during the attack. He frowned as memories came back. A lot of people SD that day. Flashback. Yondaime looked down at Kakashi and smiled. You know what I have to do, right? Kakashi nodded. Everyone will be gone then. Yondaime put his hand on Kakashi's shoulder. I know. I'm giving you one last mission though. Make sure you keep an eye on Naruto for me. End of flashback. Kakashi shook off the memory. Anyway, I'll stick around to make sure no one gives you any trouble. He then felt a tug on his pants. He looked down to see Sakura standing there looking up to him. Why do you only have one eye? It looks funny. Kakashi shook his head. Well, looks aren't everything, kiddo. He held his hand over his covered eye. My other eye is a special gift from a friend. Maybe one day I will show it to you. Sakura smiled happily. Okay. Come on, Naruto. She grabbed Naruto's hand and once again started to run around the store. Switch. The group slowly made it up the last few steps of Hokage Tower. Mrs. Haruno turned and looked at Kakashi. Would you mind watching them while I go in and sign the papers? Kakashi nodded and Mrs. Haruno stepped into the Hokage's office. Sarutobi stood as she entered. Oh, Mrs. Haruno. I'm glad you came. Where are the children? Mrs. Haruno smiled. Kakashi is outside watching them. We ran into him when a store owner gave us a little trouble about having Naruto in the store. Sarutobi nodded wisely. I see. This is proving to be a problem. Are you sure you want to adopt the child? Of course I am. He's so sweet, and Sakura is completely attached to him. Sarutobi reached for a stack of papers and turned to the last page, then simply just signed the papers. I had a word with the head of the orphanage this morning and picked up the papers. I've also taken the precaution to put his treatment of Naruto under investigation. Mrs. Haruno smiled as she signed the papers. Whatever happens, he deserves it. Sarutobi looked over the papers and smiled. I must say I am very impressed by your attitude. Most hate the child with no reason, but your husband was one of those who fell during the battle. That was Kyuubi, not Naruto. Sarutobi nodded and reached for an envelope. He then handed it to Mrs. Haruno. This is for you as well. It was given to me to relay to anyone who ever adopted Naruto. Mrs. Haruno slowly opened the letter. Dear reader, I must express my thanks for you taking care of my child. I wanted nothing more than to be there for my son as he grew, but I had to do what I did to help protect the village. It would be best to keep my identity away from the public right now. My enemies are many, and I do not wish them to be a burden upon my child. Therefore, I ask you to keep my identity from my child until he is grown. I have set aside a certain amount of my riches for Naruto when he is older. However, I have also set aside a quarter of my earnings for the family generous enough to take my child in. Think of this not as a bribe but as an ongoing mission. Please make sure my Naruto has a happy life. Thank you for your kind heart. The fourth Hokage. Mrs. Haruno looked up in shock to see Sarutobi holding out his check. You will receive a portion of the money left for Naruto's parent every week until Naruto is grown. Mrs. Haruno looked over the check and almost choked. She wouldn't have to work extra hours at one of her jobs. In fact, she didn't even need her second job anymore. Tears appeared in her eye. He gave me one last gift. A chance to actually watch my two children grow. She then walked out the door to see Naruto and Sakura playing with Kakashi. Come on you two, let's go home. Mrs. Haruno smiled as her two kids ran ahead of her. Actually, to be more accurate, Sakura once again had Naruto by the wrist and was dragging him ahead. Sakura was even more anxious than usual on her way to meet her only other friend in the entire village. She has blonde hair just like yours, little brother. She's like super smart about flowers and junk too. Naruto kept quiet and allowed himself to be dragged towards their destination. He was a little hesitant about meeting new people, especially when Sakura mentioned that her friend's dad was a powerful shinobi. He never knew why, but it was the shinobi who seemed to always hate him the most. Except for the third and Kakashi, that is. His mind stopped when he saw a flash of blonde hair. He looked up to see a man and a little girl standing there talking. The girl caught sight of Sakura and seemed to grow a welcoming smirk. Sakura gasped for air, trying to catch her breath as they got to the pair. Mrs. Haruno was still a few feet behind. Now Sakura, what have I told you about running ahead of your mother? Scorned the man. Sakura blushed and bowed. I'm sorry, Mr. Yamanaka. Inoiki chuckled slightly and patted her head. That's okay, Sakura. Just be more careful, okay? He then bent down to Naruto's level. And who is your new friend? Naruto turned his face away from the stranger. Inoiki's eyes narrowed. A handful of other people with blonde hair like my family. And being that age, it means it's one person. Sakura stood proudly. That's my new little brother Naruto Uzumaki. Ino scoffed. No, he's not. She pointed her finger at Naruto. He looks nothing like you and your mama. Inoiki looked at his daughter. Now Ino, what have I told you about judging people from your first impression? Ino's arm fell to her side as she frowned. Not to. Okay then, why don't you take Sakura and Naruto to go play? Ino smiled and took both of their arms and ran off. Mrs. Haruno walked up and stood beside Inoiki staring at the two. They seemed to be getting along well. Inoki nodded. They'll prove to be good friend. He then looked over at Mrs. Haruno. You know it isn't going to be an easy life for him. I know, but I think if I just love and support him he will be just fine. Are you sure you're okay with Ino playing with him? Inoki chuckled. My little girl can handle her own. Ino looked at the pair in front of her with her hand on her hips. Great, another one with a shell I have to break through. She walked closer to Naruto and looked him up and down before leaning in and staring at his whisker marks. What's with those marks on your face? Naruto took a step back, not being used to someone being so close to him. He put his hand on his whisker marks and frowned. I was born with them. My new mommy says it means I'm special. Ino narrowed her eyes as she processed his answer. You okay with them? Naruto nodded shyly. She smirked and started to lead the group off. At least you're not as bad as Forehead when I found her. Hey, switch. Inoki and Mrs. Haruno watched as the three talked. Inoki chuckled. She's already established herself as the leader. Mrs. Haruno nodded. Well, Sakura was never one to lead. And Naruto is still too shy to say much of anything. Switch. Ino stood explaining the game to her two friends. Okay, Forehead, you'll be the mean evil queen. Why? Because I say so. Okay. Ino then pointed at Naruto, and you Whiskers are the brave ninja that comes and saves the princess. Naruto stared at her. What's a ninja? Ino pointed at her dad in the distance. They're a person like my dad. They're brave and strong and they protect people. Get it? Naruto nodded. Good, so who's the princess? Ino growled as she glared at Naruto. You're not making this easy for me, you know that. Naruto looked at the ground. Sorry. So, you're the ninja that helps saves the beautiful princess from the evil queen. You still haven't said who the princess is, mumbled Naruto. Ino glared at him. I am. How am I supposed to save you? Ino smiled. Well, you're going to turn you back and count to 10. Sakura and I am going to hide, and you have to find me. Sakura stared at her. What do I do? Your job, Forehead, is to hide me. She then looked at Naruto. Any other questions, Whiskers? Naruto looked embarrassed. No. Ino smiled. Okay then. Close your eyes and count to 10. As soon as Naruto closed his eyes, Sakura grabbed Ino's arm and ran off. 1, 2, whispered a voice. Naruto looked to his side to see Inoki standing there smiling. 2, 3, 3, and this continued till 10. Naruto turned around and looked around. Inoki raised an eyebrow when Naruto's nose twitched and the young boy then ran off in the exact direction Sakura took Ino. Sakura looked from the hiding spot and saw Naruto. She then took Ino's arm again and started running. Naruto's ears twitched as he picked up the sound and soon ran after it. Inoki smirked at this. He doesn't even know he's doing it. 5 minutes later, Sakura peeked out from their spot and saw Naruto standing there in his line of vision with a proud smile on his face. Do I win now? Ino pooped up and hugged him as she screamed dramatically, my hero. She then playfully kissed him on the cheek and ran off. Naruto blushed as the two girls ran back to their parents. He quickly hid his embarrassment and whipped off his cheek and followed the two girls. When he got there, Ino was telling the story of how Naruto bravely found and saved her. Naruto was slightly uncomfortable due to never being praised before. And even after Forehead hid us again, he still found us really fast, finished Ino. And Ino kissed him, teased Sakura. Ino stuck out her tongue, cause that's what the princess is supposed to do when they get saved. Inoki chuckled as he patted Naruto's head. Good job, kid. You would make a fine ninja with those tracking SKS. Naruto eyes shone as he thought about what was just said. When I grow up, I want to be the bestest ninja ever. Mrs. Haruno smiled happily as she sat down after finishing the morning chores. She actually had a day off from work and the house was quiet. Her two kids were at the academy taking their final test. She smiled as she thought of Naruto rushing through the door showing off his new forehead protector. Sakura would come in behind him and yell at him about hogging their mom's attention. Even after 8 years they got along perfectly. Neither Naruto nor Sakura could really remember the time before Naruto came to be a part of the family. They fought sometimes, just like all siblings do. Mrs. Haruno reached down beside her chair and picked up a picture book sitting on end table. She flipped open to the first page and smiled at the picture. There was a little Naruto covered in confetti and a party hat sideways as he smiled brightly for the camera. His first birthday. Flashback. Naruto woke up that morning like it was any other morning. Of course that meant he slept in as long as he could before Sakura came into his room and started to whine and pull at his arm begging for him to come play with her. But this time it was different. Sakura burst into the room with her blonde partner in crime and they both jumped onto Naruto's bed. Wake up, Whiskers. You going to sleep all day? Naruto rolled over and tried to go back to sleep. Ino had spent the night with Sakura, and the three had been up late, or at least what was late for a 4-year-old, playing. Ino huffed as her cheeks poked out. She did not like being ignored. Wake up now, Whiskers, or I'm going to give you a big sloppy kiss and give you cooties. Naruto's head quickly retreated under his covers to help protect him from the evil girl cooties. Ino had told him about them the night before. When a girl kissed a boy on the cheek, they gave the boy cooties, and it would make the boy sick. The infected boy would want to do sissy stuff like play house and play with dolls, while the non-infected boy would want to do manly things like play in the dirt and bury aforementioned dolls in aforementioned dirt. Ino tried to pull the covers off of Naruto but with no luck. Sakura decided it was time to show Ino the quickest way to get Naruto up. Little brother, Uncle Kakashi is here. He said if you got up right now he would show you a ninja trick. Before they knew it, Sakura and Ino were both thrown off the bed and planted with a thump on the ground as Naruto ran out the door to see famous copy ninja. When he got downstairs, he found not only his mom and Kakashi but also the third and Ino's parent. He looked around trying to figure out what was going on. Mrs. Haruno walked up and kissed his son on the forehead. Ino had mentioned that moms were immune to cooties. Happy birthday, my growing little boy. Naruto scratched his head. What's a birthday? He was answered with a slap to the back of the head. You really are a barker, Whiskers. A birthday is a magic day when you get a whole year older and everyone gives you presents. Naruto's eyes lit up. Presents. Ino nodded. Yeah, huh? Then everyone sings this song and you get a cake. Naruto was literally bouncing with joy. Cake. Ino nodded again, obviously slightly excited cause she knew she would get to have some of the cake as well. Yep. So happy birthday, Whiskers. She then kissed him on the cheek. Naruto quickly tried to wipe it off. End flashback. Mrs. Haruno smiled. Those three had been practically inseparable throughout the years. She flipped the page as it showed Naruto staring angrily face to face the unemotional face of a certain black-haired boy. Well, they were inseparable until Sasuke showed up. Flashback. Naruto, now 7, picked up a rock and threw it across the lake. Uncle Kakashi. Kakashi looked up from his book. Yeah. What's it mean when a girl says they like someone? Kakashi quickly choked and dropped his book. What? Naruto turned and looked at Kakashi. My big sister and Ino were arguing about this boy the other day. They kept saying they liked him more. So what does it mean when a girl says she likes a boy? Kakashi sighed. I think that is something you should ask your mom. But don't worry about those two fighting, nothing could drive them apart. Naruto frowned as he picked up another rock and mumbled, stupid Sasuke. Better hope I never meet him or I will have to kick his butt. Big sister and Ino won't even play with me anymore. End flashback. Mrs. Haruno chuckled at the red face Kakashi had that day when he brought Naruto home. He was definitely not good at handling the more sensitive issues about raising kids. She flipped past a few more pages. Pictures of the family vacation to the beach. Pictures of the time Ino and Sakura had forced Naruto to dress up like a girl and wear makeup. Pictures of a shirtless Naruto doing push-ups while Kakashi did the same except with one finger. She laughed when she remembered the first time Naruto met one of Konoha's most interesting shinobi and Kakashi's eternal rival. Flashback. Naruto, now 12, walked beside Kakashi telling him about all the stuff he had learned at the academy, and Iruka-sensei says I'm having a little trouble with the henge jutsu, so do you think you could help me with that later? Kakashi looked down as his eye closed showing he had a smile on under his mask. Sure thing, kid. You know the henge is a very important jutsu for a student to know. It can help them disguise themselves if they are ever being chased by a large group of enemy shinobi. Kakashi. Kakashi let out a sigh as he turned around to meet the person who addressed him. What is it, guy? Can't you see I'm busy right now? Naruto was shocked as he turned and saw a man dressed in green spandex. The second guy saw Naruto, he rushed forward and was immediately in the young child's face. He looked the child over as he seemed to be examining him. Who are you? Naruto was not sure how to answer. His mom had told him to never talk to strangers, and they didn't come stranger than this guy. But of course his uncle Kakashi could take this guy quick, so Naruto decided to tempt fate. Naruto Uzumaki, sir. Guy rubbed his chin. Yes, I see. Then in a flash, Guy was standing up straight and giving both Kakashi and Naruto the thumbs up as his teeth gleamed in the sun. My eternal rival has picked a wonderful apprentice. Though I must say, Kakashi, I thought you had your eye on that Uchiha boy. Naruto growled. Sasuke. Kakashi sighed. You're reading too much into things again, Guy. Naruto is just a young student that I have known for many years. I am helping him with a few jutsu he is having trouble with. Guy nodded again with his hand on his chin. I see. A fire suddenly seemed to appear behind Guy. Your flames of youth are strong, young Naruto. Here he goes with that flames of youth crap again, mumbles Kakashi. Guy was now repeatedly slapping Naruto's shoulders. If you wish to master Taijustu, then please come and seek my help. I shall work with my eternal rival to help raise such a promising youth. End flashback. Naruto had to sleep with the lights on for a few days after that. Kakashi had stated it was perfectly normal. Mrs. Haruno chuckled as she came to the last picture. Naruto didn't even know this one was taken. It had happened on Ino's last birthday. Flashback. Ino sat on the balcony that was above her parents' shop. Her feet kicked as they dangled over the edge. Today was her birthday, but her dad had been off on a mission and her mom had to run the shop all day. They had told her that they would take that Saturday off and celebrate it then. She was slightly surprised when she felt two hands covering her eyes. Guess who? Ino chuckled slightly. Well, there is only one person I know whose breath reeks that badly of ramen, Whiskers. Naruto let go of his hold and sat down beside Ino looking out over the city. Sakura said to tell you hello, and that she wouldn't lose to you. Ino smirked. Well, tell Forehead that I would not lose to someone so ugly anyways. Naruto chuckled. I'll tell her you say hello back. Ino looked over at Naruto gazing out at the city. You're the only one that understands the two of us, Whiskers. Naruto smiled as he laid back and looked up at the stars. Someone has to, I guess. And why not me? I've known you two for forever. Ino mimicked Naruto as she started to lay back and watch the stars as well. She looked to her side as Naruto pushed a small wrapped box towards Ino. Happy birthday, beautiful princess, joked Naruto. Ino blushed. Don't call me that. You know we have not played that game in years. Naruto nodded. Just open it. Ino unwrapped the present to reveal a small jewelry box. Mom said that you would start wearing jewelry soon, so I thought maybe you would like something to keep it in. Ino opened it and music started to play as the figure of a princess spun around. She almost closed it when she saw the inside of the lid had something written on it. She opened it again. I will always be there to save you if you need it. The brave ninja. Ino sniffed back a tear and looked over at Naruto, who was now sitting up. She quickly hugged him. Thank you so much, Whiskers. Naruto smiled slightly. You're my best friend, Ino. I promise no matter what happens from now on it will stay that way. Neither of them noticed their two mother had come up to get them. Mrs. Haruno had quickly ran back downstairs when she saw Ino opening her gift and gotten back in time to see Ino scoot closer to Naruto and kiss his cheek just like she used to. End flashback. Mrs. Haruno smiled slightly. Those three had been through a lot. And even though Sakura and Ino were constantly fighting over Sasuke, she knew when everything was down, three of them would stick together. She was broken out of her thoughts when she heard running down the hall. She quietly put down the book and turned to meet her two kids, but was surprised when it was Iruka, not Naruto, who ran through the door. He seemed out of breath. It's Naruto, he knows. Mrs. Haruno's heart stopped at that moment. That will be all for this video. Be sure to like, subscribe, share, and comment down below for more videos. Goodbye.